Welcome to the Statler Financial Radio Show with Philip Statler. Have a question for the show or need assistance with your retirement plan? Give Philip a call today. 863-285-3815. 863-285-3815.
For many of you, retirement means the freedom to do what you want to do, when you want to do it, for as long as you want to. Independence from the daily grind. And as we celebrate our nation's Independence Day, we'll talk about how you can achieve and celebrate your own financial independence in retirement. What a great topic today on the Statler Financial Radio Show. Philip Statler, of course, President and CEO of Statler Financial Services, the inaugural Highlander Award winner for Financial Representative of the Year. And Philip, what do you think? 2021 Independence Day feels a little different from 2020.
I think we have definitely feel our independence this year. Where we were locked down last year, we're a little bit freer this year, for sure.
That is definitely the case. Any July 4th traditions that you're excited to pick back up this year, or anything a little bit different this year from last year for you and your family?
Not really. I mean, we don't have really any any 4th of July traditions at all, really. I mean, that's one of the few holidays that we probably don't. And most of the other ones we do have some traditional stuff we do, but 4th of July, not really. Just kind of depends on what's happening.
Well, hey, that's all right. Taking it easy is not is definitely
not a bad thing, right?
Definitely not a bad thing. Yeah, that is for sure. And sometimes they can get a little bit too exciting. Some of our my kids, some of their wildest stories are when somebody got burned in the forehead with a punk or something going off. So maybe no stories is best.
That's right.
When it comes to some of this.
Yeah.
Exactly. Well, let's talk about some of the people that you meet with to help with retirement. Do words like independence and freedom, words like that come up much when they're talking about their hopes for retirement?
Yeah, it really does. I mean, because that is the whole idea of retirement is, you think of it, why do you retire? I want freedom. I want freedom from the job. I want freedom to do the things I want to do, whether that's fishing, hunting, whether that's going to see their grandchildren or cruising around the world. Whatever that freedom is for you, that's truly what retirement should be about.
Yeah, for sure. So if this means having the freedom to do what you want to do, when you want to do it, let's talk about how you help somebody achieve that. How do you go about helping them get to that point?
Well, I think that a lot of times when we sit down with folks, they don't know that they got this question mark in their head is, can I afford to retire? And Jen, most of the time I can answer, yes, you can. And here's how. And we will go through the process of developing our retirement income plan that really and truly shows them, here's what you can take out over the rest of your life and still have money left over for your kids or your grandkids, whatever you want to do. Or in case you have an emergency, there's extra money to pull from. So that gives them that relief to know, oh, I can do it. Now, I will also tell you on the other flip side of that, Jen, is there are sometimes when we sit down with folks, we don't have that pleasure of saying, yes, you've achieved your retirement independence and now you can retire. Mm-hmm. Sometimes we have to have that hard conversation of you're almost there, but not quite. We need to work a little longer. We need to do something a little different in order to get you to where you want to be. Mm-hmm. But we are that person. We are that coach to help coach folks into and through retirement. And we want to be there for them and with them to make sure that they have the best retirement they possibly can. Jen, the only way to really do that is to have a financial retirement income plan. We need to have a written retirement income plan. Without that, how do you know where your money's going to come from? How do you know how much money that you'll have to live off of? That's why I believe it is one of the most important things you can have before you retire, a retirement income plan, a written retirement income plan at that. Give us a call right now to schedule your time to go through our process to develop your retirement income plan. 863-285-3815. I know it's been a big help to a lot of folks out there. Again, the number is 863-285-3815.
Talking today with Philip Statler. He is, of course, president and CEO of Statler Financial Services. That number again, 863-285-3815. That's 863-285-3815. And Philip, I don't know if you've read much about this, but there's a new movement that's been growing, Financial Independence Retire Early, or FIRE. And the way I've seen this written, it's kind of like retirement planning on steroids. So it is
Sounds
aggressive.
Good. Sounds good, right?
Sounds good, but here's what it is. It's pretty extreme. It's working toward retiring in your 40s or 50s, so taking early retirement to the extreme. So, this is probably not the goal for a lot of our listeners, but when it comes to the basic concepts, when we're talking about really bumping up savings and being aggressive in some areas of our investments, is this something that we can learn from, even if we're planning to retire at a more normal time?
Obviously, those folks that are making those decisions to retire at that time frame, they've got to be dumping a pile of money into something other than just their 401k or their retirement accounts. Because here's the issue. I mean, I sit down with folks a lot of times that are in that age. They may not be in their 40s, but they're in their early 50s, and they have the ability, at least if you look at their 401ks, to retire. But it's hard to take that money out of your 401k if you're not 59 and a half. Mm-hmm. And so there becomes an issue. So these folks got to be putting a pile of money in something other than retirement accounts. I'm sure they're funding their retirement accounts too, but we can learn a lot. And it just means that we need to fund something other than our 401k, our retirement account.
Right.
Don't not fund that. We need to fund that too, but we need to also fund our non-qualified accounts as well and put as much as we can into those. That way we can do a better job of controlling early retirement and when we want to retire early.
Right. And one of the ideas behind this FIRE movement involves being really aggressive with your savings and your investments. And again, it is interesting when I go back and I look at this. One of the articles I read about it, Philip, the guy talked about, how he has a very frugal lifestyle. He lives in a small apartment. He doesn't have a car. He also doesn't have children. So if you've already gone down that route, you probably can't take that back.
what kind of example can he be to most of us out there?
Right, exactly. So I guess for some of these people, but I do think, again, some of the basic concepts are kind of interesting. So when is it right to be more aggressive with these things, and when should we consider a more conservative approach when it comes to your savings and your investments?
Well, I don't know if there is a time period, right? I mean, I think that we can be aggressive up until early 50s, probably, especially if you're not going to retire until 55 or 60. I think you can obviously be aggressive until that point in time. But once you're about 5 years out from when you think you're going to pull the cord and retire, you definitely have to pull things in and be a little bit more conservative, if not a lot more conservative, to make sure that where you're going to take income from, you don't have big fluctuations. Mm-hmm. And so I don't know what approach they may be taking, but some people will use a what we call a bucket approach, but the first bucket is nothing but cash, right? Mm-hmm. Maybe it's 3 to 5 years of cash sitting there. It's not going to grow a lot, but it's there to ride out the waves of the stock market so that we don't get hit in a down market when we're taking money out. And so that's an option, one of the things you can look at. But I'm thinking, of all the people I talk to, I don't know that I've seen anybody or talked to anybody that really wanted to retire before 50. I mean, obviously in their dreams, but not in reality. I do have a couple that would like to retire before 60. And this is what we run into, is not having actual retirement dollars or non-retirement dollars that they can pull from. So that can be problematic for those people that want to retire early.
Right, right. And, we spend a lot of time, Philip, thinking about the total amount that we've saved in our retirement accounts. It's an easy number to see. It's something we can be proud of when we look at our account balances. But there are some financial professionals who say instead of focusing on just the size of our nest egg and what we've saved, we should be breaking it down into what we need per month. What's your take on that?
Well, I would be in that camp.
Okay.
I believe that there's too many people that focus on the big bucket of money and not enough people focus on what do I need on a month in and month out basis. And because that number will tell you how much you need in retirement. Adjusted for inflation, obviously, because we know that inflation is going to ramp up. So we need to take that into consideration. But we definitely need to take the time to figure out what we are going to need on a monthly basis to really and truly enjoy retirement, to have the retirement we always dreamed of. What does that look like? What does that budget look like? And then from there, we can determine how much money we're going to need in retirement. Jen, I work with a lot of people who have done a good job with saving part for their retirement. That saving part is important, and they've done a good job. And after working in your job for 30 years, taking care of your family, dealing with life's curveballs, contributing to your community, you should be proud of what you've been able to save. You need to make sure you help protect what you've saved. If you've listened to me right now and you don't have a financial strategy for retirement, I'd really like to help you out. Help you create a budget to figure out how much you'll need for retirement that you've always dreamed about. Uncover the main risks that are posing a threat to your retirement, including things like inflation, stock market volatility, potential tax increases, and skyrocketing healthcare costs. I want to help you learn about the options for generating income in retirement and to help you learn about how to keep your current standard of living in retirement even as costs keep rising. Call us to schedule your financial retirement income plan. Call us now at 863-285-3815 to get started on your retirement income analysis.
This is the Statler Financial Radio Show. We'll be back.
If you have a retirement plan and would like a second opinion, call Statler Financial Services today. 863-285-3815. That's 863-285-3815.
From the pitch, swung at a little too soon.
Strike three, you're out.
To the joke told at the wrong time. To barely missing your connecting flight.
This is the final boarding call for Flight 109 to Chicago.
Timing is everything. The same is true for your Social Security benefits. Take them too soon and you can leave a lot of money on the table. Take them too late and you might spend down too much of your savings. Everybody's situation can be different, but taking your Social Security benefits at the right time is important for your retirement success. Philip Statler at Statler Financial understands Social Security and can help you make decisions that are best for you and your retirement dreams. Call 863-285-3815 to start optimizing your benefits. With Social Security, timing is everything, so don't delay. Call Philip Statler at Statler Financial today. 863-285-3815. That's 863-285-3815. Our firm offers insurance services and is not affiliated with the U.S. government. Advisory services offered through Statler Financial Services, Inc., a registered investment advisory firm in the state of Florida.
Thanks for joining us today on the Statler Financial Radio Show. Jen Rezac here alongside Philip Statler, getting ready to talk about the lifestyles of the rich and famous. I don't know, Philip, does that help you channel your inner Robin Leach at all with lifestyles of the rich and famous?
I remember growing up with that. I remember watching that on TV and great. Being just infatuated with how other people live, people that had a heck of a lot more money than I did.
Yes, I know. And that's part of the allure of that show, to see how these people really lived. But the thing is, as wonderful as it seems to live the lifestyles of the rich and famous, and what was that catchphrase, champagne wishes and caviar dreams? I don't know if that was the reality for all of it, because some of them, Philip, went from riches to rags. And that happens a lot more than we often think. I mean, if you Google actors who lost it all, you're going to find a lot of people who come up there. There's a lot of celebrities who have hit financial hard times. And it just begs the question, how can so many people, you think about these athletes and musicians and actors and these celebrities, how do so many people, Philip, go through so much money so quickly?
Yeah, because they don't have a TV show for that, do they?
No, that would not be fun. Right.
It might be useful though to help teach some of those people that that did go from riches to rags. You know, the people that have it to keep from losing it. You know, that would be smart maybe to do that. So how does that happen? Well, I think that a lot of times it happens because they don't pay attention.
Yep.
They don't pay attention to what they're doing, what they're spending. They have an agent that's managing everything, and they don't see it. They don't know what that agent's doing for them, you know, and so they just keep spending. They don't have a budget, right? They don't know how to stop spending money. And so because they don't see what's coming in, or they don't care what's coming in, right? They feel like they're entitled to spend money. And so, you know, before you know it, it's gone through their fingertips, and the IRS is the last person there holding the bag and says, "Hey, you didn't pay us."
Right.
And
gosh, yeah,
that can be a big problem.
Well, and it's not really a new problem. I know a couple years ago, Sports Illustrated did a study, and they estimated 80% of retired NFL players go broke in their first 3 years of retirement. And I know, Philip, not everybody has the same size of contract as some of these guys, what they end up getting paid, but they're all pretty well compensated, even the players who aren't the big name quarterbacks and the ones who are a big deal. But a couple of the reasons that this happens is lack of competent financial planning advice and sharing too much of their wealth with their family and friends. And of course, being generous, Philip, is a good thing. I don't think any of us would say it's bad to be generous, but if you aren't watching it, if you don't have a plan and all these people are coming out of the woodwork, you can see how a lot of that money gets spent really fast. Do you see similar concepts as a concern for the everyday retiree as far as not getting the right planning advice and then maybe being a little bit careless or maybe a little bit too generous with the people who might need your help?
You know, we do see that sometimes. I would say that, and especially in terms of athletes and the superstar people, is that they don't know how to live within their means.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, that's their problem. A lot of it is their problem. I mean, they do have family and friends. Don't get me wrong. Family and friends that are there with their hands out wanting money. And you would think that they would get competent financial advice, but they really don't. They have an agent that's trying to create more money for them, but not looking out for the other side. I believe that when you head into retirement, there are some things that you need to look at. One is, you know, you have to live within your means, and that really needs to start before you retire. You know, we need to make sure that we've done a good job of at least our short-term debt paid for. It'd be nice if we had all of our debt paid. That would be a huge benefit, and it is a huge benefit for the clients that I work with, that you can see the difference, right, between those that do and those that don't. And so that's one thing. The other thing is, and this is hard, right, because they want to help. People want to help their family, and it's hard to see our family suffer.
Yes.
I remember back in 2008. You know, that big downturn in the financial markets, a lot of people got laid off then, and jobs were hard to get. And I remember having clients that, you know, I'm having to help this, you know, I'm having to help this child, I'm having to help this son, this daughter, this son-in-law, because they lost their job and they really didn't have any savings. And so we're having to help support them.
Right. And when there are grandkids involved, people want to help.
I mean, there's all kinds of rationale for why we do what we do. But the question still begs itself is, you know, are we doing what's best for them, and are we doing what's best for us, the retiree? And that becomes difficult to do. I mean, don't get me wrong. I understand it is not an easy decision to make, but sometimes I see folks that are retired that are hurting themselves because they're giving so much to their family. And so that becomes a problem. That's when, sometimes you hate to do it, but sometimes I have to be the bad guy. I have to say, look, let's draw this out. If you do this, this is how it's going to impact you. And that's not going to be good.
Well, and that's one of those things too, Philip. I feel like, and I think this is a good opportunity to give the phone number for those who might need a little help, a little bit of guidance if you're feeling that pressure and trying to figure out what the impacts are, because maybe one of your kids has gotten laid off, or maybe they need help covering the mortgage, and you're right to want to help them, but you do have to understand the impacts of that down the road. 863-285-3815 is the number to call to reach Philip Statler and the team at Statler Financial Services. That's 863-285-3815. They can help you go through all the different options. They can help you understand what the impacts are with the financial decisions that you're making right now, how that will impact you in the long term. Not to say that they're going to tell you, no, you can't do this, or no, don't do that, but just helping you understand what those impacts are and what can you afford to do and what are some other decisions that you might think about. 863-285-3815. And Philip, when you think about that need to want to help take care of your kids, I always think of that analogy of the air masks dropping down in an airplane. If you are those oxygen masks dropping down, if you're in a plane, and they always talk about how if the cabin loses pressure and those oxygen masks drop down, if you have children, you still have to put that mask on yourself first, because if you are incapacitated, what good are you to them? You have to make sure that you have oxygen, and then you help your kids get theirs as well. It's kind of the same thing with our money. I mean, you want to be able to help them, but also if you are completely incapacitated financially, that's not doing them any favors either, right?
No, who's going to help you, right? Who's going to, if you, along the way, you've diverted your retirement funds to them, then are they going to really be there when you're down and you need long-term care help, or you need additional money for medical issues? We would like to think yes, but let's be realistically that most of the time that's not going to happen. That's not a carte blanche. Yes, it always happens. No, there are times that I've seen, children of clients step in and help their parents, from a financial standpoint and just from a time standpoint, being there for them to help them during that time that they are having issues, stepping in and walking with them through whatever that health issue or financial crisis. I've seen that. So it does happen both ways, but more often than not, that money's a gift, not a loan to your children. And it's most of the time not going to get repaid.
You just have to think about those consequences, and especially if you're worried that you might outlive your savings, Philip. There are emergencies that happen, and if you spend through too much of what you've saved and then you end up living a long time, that's why we have to have these conversations, because we don't know how long we'll last, but we have to be able to watch this so our money will last as long as we need it to. And that's a big part of your financial x-ray report, Philip, looking inside what's going on with your money, how you have that set up. And then after you've made those determinations, Philip, that's when you start looking at answers, right? Not necessarily going to products first, right?
Absolutely not. We need to know first. I mean, to me, I'm a big proponent. If you don't know where you are right now from a risk standpoint, from a cost standpoint, how do you know where you need to go? Mm-hmm. And so that is the reason I developed the financial x-ray, was so that we could determine exactly where somebody is and to make sure that where they are lines up with where they want to be. And too often I don't see that. I don't see people with a portfolio that lines up with their risk tolerance number. And that's a problem, especially as we look to and get ready for retirement, because it just takes another 2008. It takes another March of 2020 to wipe out your savings. Who says the next time this market drops that it'll come back the way it did in March? You can't say that. Matter of fact, I'm reading stuff now that says it won't. And so, what are we going to do? We've got to have something in place that is going to give you the income you need throughout your lifetime. And so the starting point is the financial x-ray. The ending point is having an income plan in place that's going to walk you through life as a retiree, month in and month out, knowing where your money's coming from and how much it's going to be. And so that's where we start from. I mean, I think that's the only place you can really start, is you need to know where you are before you can know where you're going, Jen.
So let's talk a little bit about how we can do this, because I know, Philip, there are lots of different ways that you can meet with people now. You have your virtual meetings, and you have those on a regular basis. You can do this virtually. You can get on the phone with someone. You can do those face-to-face meetings with the proper protocols in place. 863-285-3815 is the way you can get started. Doesn't have to take a real long time on the phone to uncover some of this. It really is a short discovery call, and Philip can cover an awful lot with you on the phone there in that initial phone call, and then start to figure out what needs to happen from there. And like I said, he has a lot of different ways he can connect with you, a lot of different ways he can meet with you. 863-285-3815 is that number. Again, that's 863-285-3815. Just ask for the financial x-ray report, and Philip and his team can help you get started. 863-285-3815. StatlerFinancial.com is the website if you'd like to learn a little bit more. We'll be back on the other side of the break. Stay with us.
If you have a retirement plan and would like a second opinion, call Statler Financial Services today. 863-285-3815. That's 863-285-3815.
You toss a penny over your shoulder into a fountain and you make a wish. You look into the fountain and see a lot of pennies, but you see some quarters too. You think, who throws quarters when pennies will do? Now think about the taxes you could be paying in retirement. Do you want to throw pennies or quarters to Uncle Sam? Philip Statler at Statler Financial knows that not planning for taxes in retirement can drain your savings. Taxes can be complicated, so start planning now so you aren't caught off guard in retirement. Call Philip at 863-285-3815. Together, you'll create a plan designed to help you keep as much of your money as possible. Watch your pennies and quarters in retirement. Tell Philip Statler at Statler Financial what your retirement wishes are. Call now, 863-285-3815. That number, 863-285-3815. Our firm offers insurance services and may not give tax advice. Advisory services offered through Statler Financial Services, Inc., a registered investment advisor firm in the state of Florida.
Thanks for joining us today. This is the Statler Financial Radio Show. I am Jen Rezac, happy to be here with Philip Statler. He's president and CEO of Statler Financial Services. And if you are trying to prepare for retirement, I got to tell you, there are a couple of habits you can steal from the super wealthy. Because while there are some who go from riches to rags and they have made the wrong financial decisions and they end up going broke, there are plenty of others who do this the right way, and even after they retire, even after they aren't having that main source of income from movies or their football career or whatever it is, they're okay because they did the planning. So let's talk about that, Philip. What are some of the good financial habits we should pick up from the wealthy, the rich, and famous?
Well, I think the first one is live within or below your means. I mean, that's the way that you can build your wealth, is to live below your means and to save and invest the rest. One of the things that always impressed me about people that won money, because it was found money, right? They won the lottery,
sure,
or whatever.
Yeah, it just was there, right?
Is those people, they are the ones that are successful at it. They say, okay, I'm going to take, depending on how big the jackpot is, obviously, but I'm going to take 5%. I'm going to take 10%. I'm going to do what I want to do. I'm going to have fun. I'm going to blow it. Do what I want to do, but I'm going to invest the rest of it. And I'm going to use that money to live off of. I'm not going to touch it. I'm just going to use it to live off. Those are smart people. And unfortunately, there's not enough of those people that win that kind of money and do that, because we'd be in a much better spot if we did. The second thing I think people need to do is, and I've said this before, is pay off debt. When you head into retirement, it is so much easier if you're debt free. mortgage, car, credit cards, all of it. If you're debt free, it is so much easier to head into retirement. It doesn't mean that if you're not, that you can't retire, but it's so much easier if you are debt free heading into retirement. And then thirdly, you just have to save and invest. You have to pay yourself first. And I know we've all heard that. And it's tough when you're really young. And it gets tougher when you got kids in college. And this can still be tough when they're out of college and they can't find a job. I understand. But you have to pay yourself first, because if you don't, then the opportunity for retirement is going to get longer and longer. You're going to be working till you're, 70, 75, working part-time for the rest of your life. That's not what you want. And so living below your means, pay yourself first. Those type of things will help you get ahead and be prepared for retirement and be able to live the retirement you always dreamed of.
So let's go ahead and name some names here when we talk about the people who have made some of those smart decisions. And it's okay, because we're talking about the things that they've done right. You talk about someone who is able to live below their means, pay off debt, and invest. I think of Warren Buffett, and he's got lots of great quotes and some of the tips and the financial advice that he is known for, Philip. But one of the things he once said is that compounding is like being at the top of a large hill and pushing a snowball down it. And my kids watch cartoons all the time, so I can really see this in my head, where you've got, Bugs Bunny or whatever up at the top of this mountain and makes a tiny little snowball. And then by the time it gets to the bottom, it's like wiping out a village, because it's just grown and picked up snow the whole way down. With that visual in mind, how much of an impact can compounding have on our retirement savings?
Yeah, it's really huge, Jen. It really is. I always remember seeing the graphic, and I haven't seen it for a while, but I always would come out at conferences and people would show this and say, look, if you had two brothers and brother one started saving at, say, age 25, and he put $2,000, I think it's $2,000 away for 10 years, and then didn't contribute anything. And in year 11, his brother started contributing $2,000 a year, all the way until he hit retirement. That the brother that started first would have more money than the brother that started 10 years later and contributed all the way until his retirement.
Wow.
Yeah. So that's how the compounding effect works when you start saving. It's just the fact that you have to start doing it, do it regularly, do it consistently, and it will pay off in the end.
That's huge advice right there, just to get started early rather than waiting until the last minute. And then also, Philip, aside from starting early with our savings, we want to make smart decisions with our investments as well. And based on the way we've talked about this before, I know our investment strategy needs to be different when we're in retirement versus when we're in those earlier years when we're really just focused on growth and putting away as much as we can, right? It's got to change some.
Absolutely. I mean, listen, when you're working and you're just getting started, you're dumping everything you can into savings, and you want to put it, I don't want to say the most risky, but you want to put it in a decent growth portfolio. You want it to focus on growth, and you want to do that until you look out and say, okay, I'm about 5 years out from retirement, because 5 years out from retirement says, now, if I have another big catastrophic market downturn, then that could impair my chances of retirement. And we don't want that to happen. So there's a gear that needs to shift. We need to downshift 5 years out from retirement. We need to start that process of say, okay, let's make sure that we've got enough of our portfolio safe and secure, so if the market does crash again, that we're okay. We're going to be taken care of. And so, that's one of those things that we want to make sure that folks are doing. And that's really why we developed the Financial X-ray, is to make sure that when people head into retirement or already are retired, that they don't have an exorbitant amount of risk in their portfolio. And too often, Jen, when I sit down with people, they believe that they're in a conservative portfolio. And when we run the risk numbers, that just is not the case. And so that's why it's so important that people know where they are, get a financial x-ray, and so that they can know where they are, where they need to get to. Folks, all they have to do to schedule their financial x-ray is give us a call at 863-285-3815. It's easy. We can do it over the phone. We can do it with a Zoom meeting, or you can come in and we can sit across from each other face to face and have that discussion. I'm okay either way. I mean, we're being safe here at Statler Financial. We're wearing masks. We're taking care of everything and keeping everything like nice and cleaned up and sanitized and all that kind of stuff that you're supposed to be doing. We're doing. And so a great opportunity to get your financial x-ray. Again, all you have to do is give us a call at 863-285-3815 to get started on that project.
This is the Statler Financial Radio Show. That number again, 863-285-3815, talking about the lifestyles of the rich and famous and those who have done it right. And Philip, Jay Leno is another good example of someone who lived well below his means. And I didn't realize this, but he says he never actually spent the money he made from The Tonight Show the whole time he was on that show when it was airing. That money went straight to his savings, he says. He said he made money from comedy shows separately, and that's what he spent. So let's talk a little bit about that idea of living below our means, making sure that we are having some money set aside for savings. Some money is what we're going to use for income. Some money we're going to put aside from other things. How do we take that same approach with our retirement savings?
Well, I think it's the same thing, right? We need to, one thing, when you're working, we need to be living below our means. That's definitely helpful to plan for retirement. But the other thing is when we retire, we need to have the same attitude. You need to do that, right? Because here, I'll just give you an example. I've had clients before that didn't do that. We sat down and we had done their budget and we had added some money to their budget. So they had more than enough. They would have been fine. Mm-hmm. But they had a spending problem. They could not quit spending money over and above the stuff we had budgeted for. And it was not a small budget, Jen. Don't get me wrong. I mean, it was a different thing. And so it's one of those things that I just had to kind of, walk her through it. And ultimately it was to her demise, unfortunately.
Yeah, it's just one of those things we need to keep in mind. And I know we're not going to be on the same scale as Jay Leno as far as what the one job is that we can put into savings and having another job that we can afford to live off of. But I think the basic concept is there as far as understanding some of our money needs to go to savings, some of it needs to go to income, some of it's going to go to other things, some of it's going to go to taxes. There's just a lot of things that we can't afford to overlook when we are talking about making the right decisions. And Philip, as we talk about the athletes and musicians and actors who made the wrong decisions, they ended up losing their money after working so hard to be successful. That is the last thing that we want as we head into retirement. So if we're worried we might be headed down that path because we don't know if we've got the right planning in place, we don't know if we've gotten the right advice so far, what's your recommendation for us?
I think that we need to kind of step back and take a look and see if there are some ways that we can move in the right direction, and so the starting point needs to be having that budget and having that income plan. I don't know. It's just so important that people do that. And Jen, I sit down with people all the time and nobody has a written income plan, which really concerns me because I'm thinking, how do they know what they can spend if they don't have an income plan in place? And so I really believe that people need to have a retirement income plan in place so that they know what they can effectively spend without running out of money. Nobody. I mean, the number one fear of retirees is running out of money before they run out of life. And I don't want that to happen to anybody out there. Let's sit down and let's look at your situation and determine an income plan for you. Give me a call right now at 863-285-3815. That number is 863-285-3815. That will get you started on the road to the retirement you always dreamed of.
That number again, 863-285-3815. This is the Statler Financial Radio Show. We'll be back.
Call Philip Statler today to get started on your complimentary financial x-ray report. 863-285-3815. That's 863-285-3815.
From the pitch, swung at a little too soon.
Strike three, you're out.
To the joke told at the wrong time. To barely missing your connecting flight.
This is the final boarding call for Flight 109 to Chicago.
Timing is everything. The same is true for your Social Security benefits. Take them too soon and you could leave a lot of money on the table. Take them too late and you might spend down too much of your savings. Everybody's situation can be different, but taking your Social Security benefits at the right time is important for your retirement success. Philip Statler at Statler Financial understands Social Security and can help you make decisions that are best for you and your retirement dreams. Call 863-285-3815 to start optimizing your benefits. With Social Security, timing is everything, so don't delay. Call Philip Statler at Statler Financial today. 863-285-3815. That's 863-285-3815. Our firm offers insurance services and is not affiliated with the U.S. government. Advisory services offered through Statler Financial Services, Inc., a registered investment advisory firm in the state of Florida.
1975 is the year Jaws hit theaters, becoming a summer blockbuster that gave us the famous phrase,
"You're going to need a bigger boat."
This is the Statler Financial Radio Show. Thanks for joining us today. Jen Rezac here alongside Philip Statler, talking about common risks lurking beneath your retirement. And boy, the music from that movie, Philip, that's what made the movie more than the shark, right?
Oh, yeah. Oh, man. I mean, I mean, I'm sitting there, and hey, in 1975, I wasn't a very big kid anyway, so I was scared to death. I'm not a scary movie person. So I was sitting there with my hands over my eyes. You'd every now and then you'd open up just a little bit so you could see what was going to happen. Yeah,
But without the score, without that intense music, it's just not the same effect. I don't know if you've ever seen it, like clips of it, if it's on TV or something, when you don't have the music turned up, it's just not the same. It's just not the same at all. So it really, that music is what made the movie. And I'll tell you too, I'm a big believer in always reading the book before you see the movie. I did, in fact, read the book Jaws before I saw the movie because I'm fancy. Movie's better. I'll just say that the movie's better. It had the sound. It had the
sound effects, right?
Yeah, had the sound effects, had the music. We're not going to play that throughout the show today. That probably would get us into trouble, and we'd be getting everybody too worked up over all of these risks with our retirement. So we don't want to be fear mongering. Just wanted to have a little fun there with the music at the beginning, but. Philip, we talk about this because there are some common risks lurking beneath the waters of our retirement. And the first one that I have on the list today, healthcare. Major cause of unexpected bills in retirement is medical expenses. According to estimates from Fidelity, the average 65-year-old couple can expect to pay $285,000 in healthcare costs in retirement. Doesn't even include long-term care when we look at those figures. So how do we factor in healthcare costs in our retirement plan?
Well, I think we have to plan for it. Obviously, that yes, we're going to have healthcare costs, but let's really break down that number a little bit, Jen, because, I think sometimes when we look at that number, it becomes a fear factor. And I understand that's a big number. I mean, don't get me wrong. But let's think about how long do they expect people to live in retirement, right? I mean, let's say you live 20 years. Well, that's still a big number, right? That's like $7,000 per person over the next 20 years. And so where does that number come from? Well, first of all, everybody's that's retired and has Medicare, most people have Medicare Part B, right? So you're paying into Medicare for your doctors and labs and those type of things. And right now that number is what, 100, I think it's about $145 a month, somewhere in that neighborhood.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And that goes up every year. I can remember when it was less than $90. So that's one thing. Number two, you have to have a Medicare supplement to help offset that 20% that Medicare doesn't pay. So that's a premium. It's a big number that continues to escalate. Don't get me wrong. It is a big number. It has to be planned for, but it kind of is a budgeted expense, because if you have Medicare and you have Medicare gap coverage, then you're out of pocket other medical, other than prescriptions. Prescriptions add up in a hurry. I get people that hit them done a hole in a heartbeat. I mean, that's probably the biggest expense. It truly outside of your insurances is that whole prescription drugs is gone haywire for folks. So don't let the numbers scare you. When you divide it out and you figure out where that number's actually come from, it's a budgeted expense for most people because it's insurance from that standpoint.
Well, and I think that's an important point to make, because it is really easy to get overwhelmed, and you do start to get that panicky feeling. Again, the Jaws theme kind of playing in the back of your mind there. But when you break it down into smaller bites and you take a realistic view, it's a lot less intimidating. I mean, it's still something to be planned for. We don't want to not plan for it, but that does make it a little less of a big frightening threat when we break it down that way.
And saying it's more palatable that way may not be quite the right word, but it does make it a little bit more of a, hey, look, it's just a cost of living, right? We have health insurance now. My health insurance is way more than that. So, I think it's a continuation. It's a reduced amount from what we were paying as working folks from a healthcare perspective.
Right. Working our way through some of the common risks lurking beneath the waters in your retirement. Next up is inflation. And I know the inflation rate right now is pretty low, but it could become more of an issue down the road. And when we talk about inflation over the years, we talk about things costing more later on in retirement. This is where we go back to that quote from Jaws: "Going to need a bigger boat," right? Right.
Well, yeah, and inflation is always going to be around. I mean, we talked about. In fact, some people will talk about, deflation. Well, I don't see deflation really popping its ugly head up right now. We are going to have inflation. And with all the money that we're pouring into the system right now, one of the concerns is, will we have hyperinflation? And so inflation is something that has to be dealt with. We need to plan for it within our income plans to make sure that we've adjusted our income periodically to help take into account that we're going to have some inflation. And then if we don't, hey, that's just additional funding we can use for something else. But it's definitely something we need to make sure that we are making allowances for within our income plan.
As we talk about the risks lurking in retirement, and you talk about people wanting to find ways to deal with the low interest rates and low returns there, dealing with inflation down the road, we talk a little bit about growth. But of course, stock market risk is another one of those threats lurking in retirement, a drop in the markets. And I'll just throw out a hypothetical situation here, Philip. Maybe you have something like, I don't know, an 11-year bull run where the markets just go up and up and up. And then something wacky like a pandemic comes along and turns everything upside down. I mean, it sounds like it's out of a movie and all, Philip, but
who'd have thought? Who'd have thought that could ever happen, right?
Right. But these things happen. So you see why people get comfortable going there for growth. But we've had some stark reminders of just how costly that can be. How do we approach investing as we get closer to retirement?
You're right. And it's one of those things that when we have bull markets like that, we get lulled into this expectation that we can't lose money. The same thing happened in the 90s. We had a huge bull run into 2000. And then things went crazy, and people, lost a lot of money in between 2000 and 2003. And so then the market bounced back, but not near what it had done before. Maybe we had 3 or 4 years of a decent market before 2008 happened. And then you're like you said, we had the 11-year bull run. And so we get lulled into this sense that we can't lose money. And unfortunately, that's not true. And the closer we get to retirement, the more impactful a market downturn can be. We have what we call the retirement danger zone. And that's the 10 years prior to when you decide to retire and the 10 years after you actually do retire. Because in that 20-year window, should you have a market decline, a significant market decline, it can disrupt your retirement income. And if you don't have the right plan in place, it can be devastating to your retirement. And that's why I believe you need to have a retirement plan in place, an income plan in place that doesn't rely on the ups and downs of the stock market. That's not going to impact your income. And so that becomes so important during that retirement danger zone that we don't want to get caught off guard and be relying on the stock market to provide our income, because that can be dangerous. We need to make sure that we've got a plan in place that's going to get you the income you need all the way through retirement. And that's what we do here at Statler Financial. That's why I developed the Financial X-Ray. Give me a call right now and let's start that process for you. 863-285-3815. That's 863-285-3815. Folks, give me a call right now. Don't procrastinate. Don't put it off anymore. If you're getting close to retirement, give me a call. 863-285-3815.
You've been listening to the Statler Financial Radio Show. Thanks for joining us today. That number again, 863-285-3815. Be sure to tune in again next week for more insights from Philip. I am Jen Rezac. Thanks for joining us today. Have a great week.
Call Philip Statler today to get started on your complimentary Financial X-Ray Report. 863-285-3815. That's 863-285-3815.
Information provided during the Statler Financial Radio Show is for illustrative purposes only and does not constitute investment, tax, or legal advice. Information has been obtained from sources that are deemed to be reliable, but their accuracy and completeness cannot be guaranteed. Always consult with a qualified investment, legal, or tax professional before taking any action. Annuity guarantees are based solely on the financial strength and claims-paying ability of the issuing company. Individuals should thoroughly review the contract for specific details of the product features and costs. Income payments and withdrawals from deferred annuities are generally taxable as ordinary income in the year they are taken. All investing involves risk, including the potential loss of principal. No strategy is guaranteed to be successful.
This radio show is a paid placement.
From the pitch, swung at a little too soon.
Strike three, you're out.
To the joke told at the wrong time. To barely missing your connecting flight.
This is the final boarding call for Flight 109 to Chicago.
Timing is everything. The same is true for your Social Security benefits. Take them too soon and you can leave a lot of money on the table. Take them too late and you might spend down too much of your savings. Everybody's situation can be different, but taking your Social Security benefits at the right time is important for your retirement success. Philip Statler at Statler Financial understands Social Security and can help you make decisions that are best for you and your retirement dreams. Call 863-285-3815 to start optimizing your benefits. With Social Security, timing is everything, so don't delay. Call Philip Statler at Statler Financial today. 863-285-3815.